Hey guys, welcome to Latter-day Prophecy, where I like to teach about a lot of the crazy stuff that comes with that. And as you saw from the title of this prophecy, it is called The Beast. Sorry, that's the wrong beast. There we go. The Beast versus the Whore. Yeah, I'm trying to keep this G-rated. I'm not sure what you were thinking. I'm not going to have a photo of a whore. I mean, come on, man. If you studied Revelation 17, you should know who wins this fight. But if you don't, I'm not going to spoil it for you. This prophecy speaks directly to the day and time we are currently living in. And if I had to guess, I would say this would be fulfilled in as little as a few years. But it could be as little as a few months from the making of this video, which is September of 2021. So let's go ahead and get started and read. And there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will shew unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of the names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold, and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots, and abominations of the earth. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints, with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. John sees the whore of Babylon sitting on many waters. The whore of Babylon is a representation of a future kingdom. So what is this representation? Well, let's look at some of the characteristics. 1. It sits upon many waters. Revelation 17:15. He saith unto me, The waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. In other words, a great influence over much of the entire world. 2. The kings of the earth committed fornication with her. Inhabitants of the earth are made drunk with her wine. When a man commits fornication with a whore, he does it in secret. Likewise, the kings or politicians of the earth make secret dealings that will enrich them and the whore, and the inhabitants of those kingdoms are at large okay with it. A drunk person is very much oblivious of the current reality, and so it is with the inhabitants of the earth that live under the whore. Things are good enough for them, and they are pacified with the wealth, and they are not aware of the secret dealings. 3. She also sits upon the beast. This could mean that she is supported by the beast. Purple and scarlet. These colors were very expensive in John's time. Gold and precious stones. This alliance that she has with the beast, the kings of the earth and inhabitants, brings her great wealth. This symbolism is showing that these immoral alliances with the kings of the earth and its inhabitants brings her great wealth. Revelations 18:3 says, The merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. People have become wealthy because of these unholy alliances the whore has made. Number 6, it says she was drunken with the blood of the saints. And then Revelations 18:24 says, And in her was found the blood of prophets and of saints and of all that were slain upon the earth. Her evil workings have at times caused the saints to be hurt and killed. People that get in the way of her motives get hurt, but it is well concealed and covered up, because this isn't known until after her fall, which is in Revelations 18:24. The 7th thing, John understands what the whore represents spiritually and is awestruck by her. He stands in wonder. This means the great power of this network to do so much evil causes John to stand in wonder for a minute. So that is the representation of the whore. Now the angel is going to tell John the mystery of the beast. Verse 8 says, "The beast that thou sawest was, and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit, and go into perdition. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was, and is not, and yet is. And here is the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains, on which the woman sitteth. And there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is the Lord of lords and King of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful." Now we have looked at the characteristics of the beast. Revelations 12 is the first time the image of the beast is described. It mentions 7 heads, 10 horns, and the crowns. It is also made apparent in that chapter that this image is Satan, as it talks about the pre-earth life and the war in heaven. Yet the same image is used to describe a latter-day kingdom. In other words, this last oppressive latter-day kingdom is in the exact image of Satan illustrated in the pre-earth life. It explicitly does his will. 2. There are 7 heads, which we are told represent 7 mountains and kings, more likely kingdoms, having great influence over the earth. 7 is a number of completeness, showing the beginning and end of this beast. 5 of these kings are past. 1 existed in John's time, and then 1 is yet to come. This is the last head, representing this last and final kingdom. Number 3, there are 10 horns, which seem to belong to the last head of this beast kingdom. These 10 horns represent 10 kings, which have not a kingdom as of yet, but when the beast ascends to power, they do. Number 4 says, "The beast was, is not, and yet is." I believe this is a way of stating the beast was because it existed in the pre-earth life as Satan and has manifested itself through past kingdoms, and saying it is not because the culmination of this kingdom is not yet, as it will be manifested in that great, horrible, powerful, oppressive latter-day kingdom, and yet is because Satan's power is always working towards this end that is not yet come. 5. Those whose names are not written in the book of life shall wonder after the beast when they behold it. In other words, those who don't exercise faith in God will stand in wonder of the beast, that it will be like God unto them. 6 says it makes war with the saints. Its ideology hates the saints and is in direct opposition to them. Notice the difference in wording between the beast versus the whore in regards to the saints. The whore doesn't speak about the blood of the saints until the very last verse describing her fall. Verse 24, it says, "And in her was found the blood of prophets and of saints and of all that were slain upon the earth." This stating the blood of prophets and saints being found after her fall. Whereas the beast is the same image that was used for Satan in the pre-earth life, and is a manifestation of his works. Verse 24 says regarding the 10 kings of the beast's kingdom network, "These shall make war with the Lamb." I believe there is a stark contrast between the difference of these two evils. The evil of the whore killed the saints when they got in the way of her objectives of becoming wealthy via the oppression of others, whereas the beast is more ideological in its beliefs. It outright sees the saints and anyone that would represent the kingdom of God as its enemy, and declares war on them. Now we'll read where the beast destroys the whore. Verse 16, "And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, These shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. For God hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of God shall be fulfilled. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. So why does the beast destroy the whore? It says God put it in their hearts to fulfill his will. The Lord is using the wicked to destroy the wicked. They came to the conclusion that they'd like to establish the kingdom of the beast and get rid of the whore. Essentially, they are eliminating their competition to start a new kingdom. Latter-day Babylon, when mentioned in the scriptures by the prophets, is often represented as the worldliness of the world and the powerful corrupt nations of the Gentile world. And if the woman represents modern-day Babylon, then what city or country would be that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth? Keep that in mind as we read Revelations 18, which talks about the destruction of the whore of Babylon. And he, the angel, cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. For all the nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth hath committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth hath waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. And I heard another voice from heaven, saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, that ye receive not of her plagues. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and God hath remembered her iniquities. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her double, according to her works, in the cup which she hath filled to her double. How much she hath glorified herself, and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen, and I am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death, and mourning, and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire, for strong is the Lord God who judgeth her. And the kings of the earth, who hath committed fornication, and lived deliciously with her, shall bewail her, and lament for her, when they shall see the smoke of her burning, standing afar off for fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, the great city of Babylon, that mighty city! For in 1 hour is thy judgment come. And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise any more. The merchandise of gold, and of silver, and precious stones, and of pearls, and fine linen, and purple, and silk, and scarlet, and all fine wood, and all manner vessels of ivory, and all manner vessels of precious wood, and of brass, and iron, and marble, and cinnamon, and odors, and ointments, and frankincense, and wine, and oil, and fine flour, and wheat, and beasts, and sheep, and horses, and chariots, and slaves, and souls of men. And the fruits that thy soul lusted after are departed from thee. All the things which were dainty and goodly are departed from thee, and thou shalt find them no more at all. The merchants of these things, which were made rich by her, shall stand afar off, the fear of her torment, weeping and wailing, and saying, Alas, alas, the great city, that was clothed in fine linen, and purple, and scarlet, and decked with gold, and precious stones, and pearls. For in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught. And every shipmaster, and all the company in ships, and sailors, and as many as trade by sea, stood afar off, and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, What city is like unto this great city? And they cast dust on their heads, and cried, weeping and wailing, and saying, Alas, alas, the great city, wherein were made rich all that had ships in the sea by reason of her costliness. For in 1 hour is she made desolate. Rejoice over her, thou heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets, for God hath avenged you of her. And a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone, and cast it into the sea, saying, Thus with the violence shall the great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. And the voice of harpers and musicians, and of pipers and trumpeters, shall be heard no more at all in thee, and no craftsman, of whatsoever craft he be, shall be found any more in thee. and the sound of a millstone shall be heard no more at all in thee. So one thing should stick out to you as you read this. The horror of Babylon's destruction happens quickly. You'll know the day it happens. It will take place in 1 hour, in 1 day. Her judgment, her destruction, and it says her plagues all come in 1 day or hours. Another meaning of the word plague can be a great severe affliction and not necessarily contagious disease, although many plagues, contagious diseases are prophesied to come forth on the whole earth in the latter days. Another thing is all prospects of wealth made by those who were able to benefit off of her immoral network is lost, so the rich who benefited from her greatly mourn for her destruction. So then, what is the whore of Babylon? The whore of Babylon is a multifaceted octopus with her tentacles wrapped in anything and everything that brings her riches. When you see politicians benefiting from backroom deals paid by lobbyists to push legislation that benefits a select group, when antitrust laws are vastly ignored and companies work with government to become artificial monopolies, when government seizes land under the states but provides access to resources on this land for select corporations to benefit, when labor union laws and excessive regulations are created to drive out certain industries from the U.S., but then purchase those same products from slave labor overseas in communist-controlled countries, when massive stimulus packages are used to give one business monies but not another, allowing the cronies within the government to pick its losers and winners, all of these are examples of the whore. When you see one or a few organizations that have an endless money supply that is used to make charitable donations into charities that are bogus for various business entities that control the media, the research, our educational systems, and create a bureaucratic state, this is the whore at work. When you see the children of politicians, the wealthy and influential, get their first job placements into positions, paying millions or placed in nonsensical board member assignments to companies and industries they have zero experience in, this is the whore at work. When you witness the common people on Reddit cause institutional investors to lose money that causes the market to stop the sale of certain orders that would hurt the wealthy, this is the whore at work. She manipulates our money supply, the media, our judicial systems. She influences the military industrial complex, and her influence controls many of the most powerful corporations of the world. This is the whore. If I had to describe her in a few words, I would say she is a corrupt network of crony capitalism on a global scale. So what is the beast if that is the whore? The beast is much more simple. It doesn't have a vast network of deals, but is a small network of 10 kings and a dictator. Revelations 13:7 says, "And that no man might buy or sell, save he had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name." A simple definition of communism is all goods and services are exclusively controlled by the government. Is that not the same definition given in Revelations 13:17? So what happens then when the whore is destroyed? This is showing that this corrupt network of crony capitalism is being destroyed and instead is being replaced with global communism. One evil network is destroyed, but is replaced with one that is even worse. Let's read verse 23 that continues to talk of the whore, which is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. Remember, the fall of the whore Babylon will happen in 1 day or 1 hour. For that to happen, it seems likely to me that there will be some major catastrophic event that causes the fall of the U.S. empire and all her economic strength over the world economy. That catastrophic event will likely be the fruition of all her sins that causes a house of cards to crumble to the ground. I believe the second to last verse gives a hint into one of the whore's acts that cause her downfall. Verse 23 says, "And the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee, and the voice of the bridegroom and the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee. For thy merchants were the great men of the earth, for by thy sorceries were all nations deceived." It says, "For by thy sorceries were all nations deceived." The sorceries seems like an odd word to use. Last I knew, I can't think of one acquaintance in my life that is into chanting incantations, mixing witch's brew, or looking into crystal balls, or trying their work at the dark magic. This word hasn't been previously used before to describe her network. What if we were to look at the Greek writing of this verse? So let's Google Revelation 18:23 Greek. The English word sorceries was used to translate from the Greek word pharmakeia. If you go to this site, you get a definition of pharmacy and, well, pharmakeia. It says pharmakeia, a healing or harmful medicine, a healing or poisonous herb, a drug, poisonous potion. So what if we reread that verse as about the great nation of Babylon as follows: "For thy merchants were the great men of the earth, for by thy pharmakeia were all nations deceived," remembering the definition that we just read of pharmakeia. Just let that one marinate for a minute. Now I think Isaiah spoke to this same event. Let's look at Isaiah 47:8-12, which also had the original Greek word pharmakeia in the place of sorcery. Isaiah 47:8-12 reads as follows: "Therefore hear now this, thou that art given to pleasures, that dwellest carelessly, that sayest in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. I shall not sit a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children. But these two things shall come to thee in a moment, in one day, the loss of children and widowhood. They shall come upon thee in their perfection, for the multitude of thy pharmakeia, and for the great abundance of thine enchantments. For thou hast trusted in thy wickedness. Thou hast said, None seeth me. Thy wisdom and thy knowledge it hath perverted thee. And thou hast said in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. Therefore shall evil come upon thee, thou shalt not know from whence it riseth. And mischief shall fall upon thee, which thou shalt not be able to put off. And desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, which thou shalt not know. Stand now with thine enchantments, and with the multitude of thy sorceries, or pharmakeia, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. If it so be that thou shalt be able to profit, if so be thou mayest prevail." So this last verse is kind of like a poetic mock towards the whore. It's saying, stand now and see if your works or those things that you have done from your youth will save you. If you can benefit from them in some way, you'll prevail. But obviously, she cannot. So the kingdom of the whore of Babylon, her network, are about to reap the benefits of what they have sown. Brothers and sisters, are the prophecies of John and Isaiah not amazing? They truly saw our day. There are scary, troubling times prophesied about the latter days, but you know what I think is more troubling? The 99+% of people in the world that don't know anything about these prophecies. At least we get to go into these experiences with our eyes open and our senses about us. Others will go into these trying times not knowing who or what to trust, not knowing there is a God who is available and has their back if they would just love Him and covenant with Him. People need to understand the prophecies of the latter days. The time for understanding those prophecies was yesterday. So please share this video with like-minded people. Feel free to subscribe if you like. It helps with my rankings and getting messages like these out there. I also have a mailing list you can subscribe to at my website if you like. Repent and covenant with the Lord. The beast kingdom is coming. Power through your covenants with the Lord will be the strength you need to overcome. Thank you and God bless.